So I mainly play on the Bedrock edition of Minecraft, and I know a lot of you do as well, but I also know a fair few of Java players watch my videos, and if you do play on Java, then I've got some great news for you, especially if you're looking for shaders without downloading any additional mods. Microsoft has officially updated the Minecraft Java edition system requirements for the first time in 17 years. That is how long it's been, but you might be thinking, well, what are the new recommended specs? And they are 16GB of RAM. It was previously 4GB, so, somewhat of a major upgrade, although 16GB of RAM is kind of the norm nowadays. A 2020 era CPU or newer, such as an Intel Core i5-12400 or an AMD Ryzen 5 5600 with a graphics card like a Nvidia RTX 2060 or an AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT with around 6GB of VRAM. So there you go. If you want Java Edition to continue to run smoothly, then you need to make sure that your PC follows those specific specs right there, because if not, then I would definitely recommend either upgrading your PC if you can afford to do that, or buying the components to upgrade it yourself if you know what you're doing. And when it comes to the RAM, don't worry, because they do actually have a minimum requirement for the RAM. So although it states 16GB, if you have 8GB of RAM, then you will somewhat get away with it. You just won't get the full performance that you can get out of that, if that makes sense. You at least need to have 8GB of RAM to just simply get any response out of Java whatsoever. If we take a look at the article that Pirate Nation have also included in their tweet, it says for minimum requirements, the new target is 1080p at 30fps using the fast preset. This means a 64-bit system, 8GB of RAM with a discrete GPU, or 12GB with integrated graphics, a 4-core processor, and a Vulkan 1.3 capable GPU with at least 2GB of VRAM. For recommended requirements, the new target is 1080p at 60fps using the fancy preset. This includes 16GB of RAM, a stronger modern processor, and a more capable graphics card with 6GB of VRAM. Ideally, if you want stable performance, then you need to make sure you try and reach the recommended requirements rather than the minimum requirements. Compared with many modern AAA games, these updated requirements are still relatively low. Java Edition does not require a high-end gaming PC or a cutting-edge graphics card. So there you go. There's a lot of speculation about why are they doing this, and it's such a terrible decision. But if you think about it, Minecraft has been pretty RAM heavy for the last few years, especially when it comes to things like render distance and, chunk loading and stuff like that. So this is kind of nothing compared to what many other games require nowadays. Whilst I'm on that topic, actually, I want to include this tweet from Silent Whisperer because he's absolutely right. Everyone is freaking out about this as if Minecraft hasn't been RAM hungry for many years, especially if you want a high render distance, like I mentioned before. Worlds are also 50% taller since 1.18, so there's just more to load. So in order for you to get the best performance, they physically have to upgrade these specs, and you have to follow it if you want a smoother performance during your game time. That's obviously the main important outcome they aim to reach, right? Is upgrading the performance stability of their own game. But also, something else that many people have been talking about is that vibrant visuals will eventually be coming to Java Edition, just like Bedrock Edition has it itself. So obviously, if they're going to add vibrant visual shaders within the base game without any mod requirements at all, then they need to make sure their specs match that in order to host it. I think many people are getting confused because Minecraft is obviously such a simple game where you can build whatever you want, and it feels like it doesn't really require that much system backing. But if you think about all of the updates they've added recently, and especially with the upgrades to render distance and chunk loading, and like I said, vibrant visuals as well is the main one, then obviously they need to add these different specs to the game, because otherwise they're not going to be able to continue to innovate the game moving forward. So if, before, for example, if you wanted to play on shaders, you would have to download a mod pack. That would put more stress on the game anyway, downloading an additional mod pack, whereas now it's built into the game itself. They need to be able to upgrade their requirements to host it for you. So in terms of that, they are making it somewhat easier because your download files are smaller, but as a result of that, Minecraft is obviously getting larger. So it's up to you. It's whether you weigh out the usage of using vibrant visuals, or do you use your own mod shader pack? It's completely up to you, but unless your system follows these requirements, you're not going to get any of it. Or at least you will, but your PC will look like a fry-up afterwards. Now, a lot of you might be thinking that's still a heck of a lot of RAM just for Minecraft, and you're absolutely right. And it's not the fact that these additions will completely use up the entirety of 16 gigabytes of RAM, but if you want to pile, additional things on top, especially with new updates coming in all the time, then you need to have that extra RAM there to kind of consider all of those changes. They're also most likely recommending 16 gigabytes so they can future-proof for the, future versions of Minecraft. It's a business. They have to think about the future versions of the game, and rather than them having to update their system requirements once every year, let's say, then they're doing it probably once every 17 years. I've no idea. I'm just saying that because it's been 17 years, but you get the idea. They're probably recommending 16 gigabytes of RAM now so they don't have to keep changing the system requirements as they keep bringing new updates out. It's better to do it once than multiple times over, because if they were to change their system requirements every year, it would just absolutely annoy the heck out of people. So yeah, although 16 gigabytes of RAM does still seem quite a lot, just keep in mind that they are most likely future-proofing the foundations of the game moving forward as well. So what do you think to these changes? Do you play on Java Edition? First of all, I'd like to see how many of my viewers, the ratio between how many of you play Bedrock Edition versus Java. And if you do play on Java solely, just as that alone, then let me know what you think to these system requirements down below in the comments section. Does your system reach these requirements? If so, that is great. But if not, then what are you going to upgrade to, or are you even going to continue playing? Because I know a lot of people might not be able to afford to upgrade their PC, but on the other end of the spectrum, I do know a lot of people prefer to keep the same PC and just upgrade it themselves. So let me know what you're doing in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you give it a like, click subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you played Bedrock Edition and you absolutely hate vibrant visuals, then click this video on the screen right now, because I go through how you can actually switch that setting off. It might also help you in Java as well.